Producer Mark, you are going to Sundance. BT, what is your favorite sports movie ever?
Oh man, Ha, you're making me think here, Dan. I don't know off the top of my head. Remember the Titans? How about that?
Oh, come on. That is
Oh,
trash.
you asked me for my favorite, not your
Yeah, that's
favorite.
a bad. I didn't think an opinion could be wrong until just now.
Ah, what is yours, Dan?
I mean, the answer is Hoop Dreams is the best sports movie of all time.
No.
But like
Here's a better one. No, I have a better one for you. The fish that saved Pittsburgh, baby.
Dr. J,
Yes, sir.
the random basketball movie of my youth, believe it or
Okay.
not, um, starred Alex English. And it was called Amazing Grace and Chuck, and it was about a little kid who stopped the world from nuclear war. And Alex English quit playing basketball. This movie was on all the time when I was a kid.
That was
Amazing
horrible.
Grace and Chuck.
That was a horrible movie,
You would think I'd be a more socially conscious person after seeing all this stuff, but whatever.
Dan.
All
No,
right,
you're not.
no, I'm not. Let's start the show. All right, welcome to the Times Lakers show. I'm Dan Woike here again. BT, not in the Dina, in the LBC,
Ooh, look at you.
on a mission trying to find my buddy BT.
I'm
The
here,
car full
Dan.
of goes in a new tweet.
I'm right here, Dan. I saw you last night,
Okay, I
which would
did
have
see
been
you last time.
which
Almost
would
this morning.
which would be Monday night, and I'll see you again tomorrow, which would be Wednesday night. And I'm not
Yeah.
happy. I'm not happy about that. That's too much seeing you, Dan.
What are you talking about? You cover one of the hottest teams in the NBA, as do I.
Yes,
The one
they've
game
won
winning
one
streak,
game in a row.
the one game winning streak, Los Angeles Lakers. This is where we need to start because BT, I'm going to be a jerk today.
Today, huh?
Today. I think the win over the Thunder to me points to everything that's wrong with the Lakers.
Wrong with the Lakers.
Yes.
A win points to things being wrong. Okay.
Yep.
Explain, please.
Okay. One, they had 9 players touch the court last night, right?
Yes.
8 of which, well, I would say 7 of which I would say had good games, right?
Okay. Yes.
North of average. The 2 that did not, Max Christie struggled a little bit, Torian Prince struggled a little bit, right? Everyone else played well,
Okay.
okay? They barely won against a team that had a bunch of guys not play well. That's thing number 1,
Okay.
okay? Number 2, they had a defensive sort of thrust, a force, a chutzpah, a spirit on that end, a little Yiddish, to their play that, quite frankly, they don't have every night. And quite frankly, I don't think they can have it every night. I think the frustrating, flummoxing part about the Lakers, they are good enough to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder any night of the week, and they're bad enough to lose the 2 or 3 games after. That is sort of the negative takeaway I had last night. I had a couple interesting conversations. I'll share one here in a minute. But what do you think of my my rain on the parade theory?
The Lakers won the game.
They did.
They
You play
beat
to win the game.
Yes. The Lakers beat OKC, which came in having the second best record in the West,
Yep.
which came in with a guy named Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who is now in the top 5 for MVP candidate.
Oh, who
Right?
told you that? Who told you that could happen? I wonder if only somebody months ago, maybe on a YouTube show, would say something like that.
Well, Dan, you right. Hey, I spoke upon a nut. Okay. That happened last night. They did a
Mhm.
pretty good job on Shea.
I
He
thought they did.
scored 24, but what was it, like 9 for 20 from the field, 9 for 18?
Missed a lot of threes. Missed some open ones too.
The key being the Lakers played defense, really good defense when they had to. Anthony Davis was too much for Chet Holmgren to handle. But more importantly, the Lakers won the game. And
Yep.
you move on to the next challenge.
So I
That
had
is
a conversation.
that is all that matters. No matter what anyone tries to break down and analyze it, you got a W out of this.
So I had a conversation after the game with LeBron James. He's this guy on the Lakers, scored a point here or there in his career. And we kind of talked a little bit about it. And we've after his scrums, we'll occasionally sort of chit chat about like the state of things. He was kind of like pretty good, because they did play. They played pretty good last night. And he was sort of like, "What do you think?" And I told them, I think when they throw their fastball, they are good enough to beat anybody. I think I've seen enough of that at this point. When the Lakers throw their absolute best pitch, they can beat anybody. I said, I wonder how often they can throw that pitch. And that to me is still the issue that needs to be addressed, whether it's through trade, whether through its attitude or effort, or I don't know. I mean, it is one of those things, and I have these conversations with people around the league all the time. I write about it in the newsletter all the time. I think we've spoken about it here too. It's just this weird thing, this weird situation the Lakers are in. Their best player is 39 years old. He's been in the league for 21 years, BT. Combine those numbers, it's almost as old as you. You combine these things, like how do you operate in a world in which you have a 39-year-old in his prime? It is crazy. You don't know, he's not the best he's ever been, but he's still really, really good. And you don't know how long he's going to be really, really good for. You know that he knows that he has to pick his spots. It's I don't know how you build around that. It's really hard. There's no playbook for it.
There isn't, but there's also a guy named Anthony Davis.
Okay.
Who has played exceptionally well the last couple of games.
Sure.
Who, when they lost in Salt Lake City, the game that I was at and you were not.
Correct.
You were home doing God knows what.
I broke dry January. I made it 13 days in dry
Mm-hmm.
January. And then I had a beer. I had a beer.
You're just like the Lakers.
Drunk?
Up and down.
Oh.
Some days you got a fastball, some days you have a knuckleball there. And today's analogy that you're throwing at me, it's a knuckleball floating all over the place. The idea is still to win the game. And here's one thing that I really liked about the game against OKC. I thought we saw a more and improved and athletic Vanderbilt.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked really, really good. He's an X factor.
He looked sharper. I also like the play of Rui Hachimura the last two games, whose minutes are being curbed some until they get himself back in shape. I enjoy that. Christian Wood seems to be back into the fold again. He's playing better.
He's had a good couple weeks.
The starting backcourt of D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, those two guys, as D'Angelo said, I like the guy. And as Austin reiterated too, I like the guy. Which goes a long way. So you add all those things up, and I think it's only one game, yes, but there is something there. Even in the loss at Salt Lake City, I thought there is something here.
They had a good oomph in that game. Yeah, they played well. I mean, look, realistically, we're talking about the team that's tied for 10th in the West right now. We're talking about a team that still has a lot of room to cover. They're a team that had the exact same record, BT, going into last night as they did a year ago, which is crazy to fathom. When you think about the problems that team had, the obvious problems that team had in terms of off-court chemistry, in terms of roster makeup, in terms of on-court chemistry, those all had, in hindsight, what were pretty easy fixes. Like, they got rid of a bunch of guys and they brought in a bunch of new guys. I think this situation is a little trickier. They have been openly thirsting for continuity all season. And unless that's, I mean, producer Mark, can you get on the bleep button for me? Unless that's just total bullshit. Like honestly, there's no, they've talked about this over and over and over and over again. Like, they're going to go into trade season here. We're going to read some questions from some listeners here that I put out onto the internet later. All everybody wants to talk about is trades with this team. And by the way, guess what? Internally, people talk about trades with this team. Like, it is like there is an expectation. It feels like one is coming of some kind. That would not point to continuity. That would point to starting over again. It is crazy to me, BT. I'm going to get off my soapbox here in a second. It is wild that this team is back in this position where they were a year ago.
I agree. You're right about that. You would think
right? Twice in one segment.
Yes. Woo. It won't happen again ever in life. I'm
Let's
just
try. BT, let's try again in segment B. Let's see if in the B block, we'll call it, if I could be right again. You're watching the Times Lakers show on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, and by God, buy a newspaper, people. Read about the world, learn something.
yes. Our lives depend on it.
Welcome back to the Times Lakers show. I'm Dan Woike with the LA Times. He's Brad Turner from the Dina, also from the LA Times. Talking a little Long Beach music, BT, a second ago. The Snoop D-O Double G from Long Beach. Can you name another Long Beach artist?
I don't care to.
I mean,
But
Warren G,
okay, look at
Nate
you.
Dogg, Nate Dogg. I said it weird. Nate Dogg. How about Sublime? Little band called Sublime, BT.
How about that, man?
All right.
Ooh wee.
Woo-wee.
I'm
All
excited
right.
now.
All right. We're going to go to an artist not from Long Beach, Elon Musk. We don't claim him. But he did buy a platform that we do use. And I asked on the said platform, I cut through all the filth and the bots and all the cursing and all of that stuff to say, talk, I'm taping with my good friend BT. Ask us some questions. We got questions, BT. All
Okay.
right. I'm going to read you some of these. And look, I apologize to a couple of these people. Some of these questions were basically the same. Tyler asked this question. We got another question from Lakers View _ and we Nam Andal said this too. Basically, are the Lakers going to make a trade? BT, what would your gut tell you?
My gut says that yes, the Lakers will make a trade. Now, for whom? I have no idea because I don't think the Lakers have any true idea of who that player is going to be or what it's going to take. But yes, they will make a move. I will say this, Dan. I don't think it will be as major as it was last season, but I think they do something that
You,
upgrades their team.
do you think? Would you say acquiring Dejounte Murray would be major? Would you qualify that as major?
Very good question. I would say major, but not major.
Mage,
Not all the way major because there's still some questions
Colonel,
about him out
yeah.
there, whether he is really the player people thought he would be when he was
Mm-hmm.
in San Antonio. No, he's obviously not a great outside shooter, which is what they need. But the positive with him is,
Shooting it well this year.
yeah, he
Dejounte Murray.
is great athlete, great kid, based on what I've been told. Wants to play for a team that has a chance to go to the playoffs and maybe make some noise. He'll play hard for them, but
Yeah.
a major upgrade, I'm not so sure about that. But an upgrade nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the DeJounte Murray, I think he's an upgrade. I got in a little bit of a Twitter aggregation loop last week when I wrote that the Lakers didn't view a Reeves for Murray deal as something that would move the needle. Um, look, we can talk about who's better, Austin Reeves or DeJounte Murray. I think for the needle to move, the Lakers would need both of them. I think that's the point, right? Is that if you're swapping one good player out for a player who's slightly better or slightly worse, whatever it may be, that's not gonna fix things for this team. I mean, I think, and this goes to another question we were asked. I mean, that would be a D'Angelo Russell trade. Like, that's just what that would be. He's the salary that would go out in that. The contract is okay. I think the player option next year scares some people, right? Like, he'll probably pick it up. But look, there's some situations out there. I think D'Lo's a guy you can give him the ball. You saw it last night. You saw it in Utah. He can perform. I don't think he's a great on-court fit in Atlanta. But like, look, is there a world where he ended up in Brooklyn where he would make some sense for the Nets? He has before. Is there a world in which he'd end up in Chicago and he can make some offensive sense for the Bulls? Absolutely. I mean, Kobe White's played great. But like, I think I mean, we saw last night some of those point guard skills. Look, he's valuable to the Lakers, BT.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's another part of this too, is that like we talk about like continuity. Like this team just playing better together might be the answer too. And then you do something smaller around the margins. But I'm with you. I think a trade is going to happen. Here is another question, BT. This one is an interesting one. This is from So's Gup or Sue's Gup. He said you were in the room last night and you took what Darvin Ham said to mean that he was going to be starting the same playoff lineup as last year. That obviously was not what he meant. He said the wrong thing. He misheard the question. Can you remember something like this before? My answer to that is sure. Like these things happen all the time. Like I feel half listened to in press conferences 60 to 70% of the time.
Oh, absolutely. It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure in Darvin's mind, he's thinking that keeping D'Angelo and Austin in the lineup with Bond and AD.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the four guys. And so his mind is telling him those were the guys that were on the team last year that started that we had success with.
Sure.
You know, just forgetting to say, oh, the fifth guy won't be Jared Vanderbilt. It's actually going to be Torian Prince. It's a quick, easy slip up. How about this? They won the game.
They won the game. This one is for Roll DeGrasse Tyson. That's a great Twitter X name.
What kind of grass is he rolling?
What's the timetable on Gabe Vincent? BT, what are we? Are we 2 or 3 weeks out from surgery on Gabe?
I think we are, and it was a 2 months. They thought he'd be out.
Yeah, six to 8 weeks is like basically like the evaluation time. I will say I've seen him walking around, good spirits.
Yes.
Also potentially a contract that could end up out in a trade, although he's got years left on his deal. It's a big deal that Gabe Vincent has not been on the court for this team. It has mattered. It has changed their plans. His physicality, his defensive toughness was supposed to be one of the things that carried him. He is a very streaky scorer, too, who gives them a little punch, or would have given them a little punch. Maybe a moratorium, BT, on the Lakers signing reserve Miami Heat guards for a little bit after this. But just some bad luck here, I think, with the injuries.
It's been tough because they had Kendrick Nunn last season, which they used to get Rui Hachimura with.
Yes.
Gabe is someone I think that can help the Lakers or another team if he ends up being traded.
Oh, yeah.
The key with the Lakers is just being patient before they make any sort of move, similar to what they did last year. And the patience went out for them.
I think a sneaky thing that they did that is going to help them in the next month, and this is like minor, right? Like, I mean, this isn't going to be the difference between them being the 10 seed or the 4 seed. But I think it's going to help them and help their overall sort of internal culture. Skylar Mays, I think, to a 2-way contract, getting a player who they can trust to put on the court and mostly do the right thing. And that's not a shot at Jalen Ishpino. He's a rookie. He's supposed to make mistakes. That is what they do. You know, we've all heard some very colorful phrases throughout the years about what rookies are, right, BT?
Oh, yeah.
And
Mr. Phil Jackson always had a great line about rookies. That rookies were lower than well. Get ready for this, Potts. Lower than well.
Ooh, this is an NC-17 one. I like this episode. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think just like having like sort of his maturity around, played pretty well in Utah. You know, came off the bench and played pretty well against the Suns in garbage time. That was going. Let's take one last question, and then we're going to go to the last segment here. BT, this is from Carlo B, not Cardi B, sadly. Carlo B wants to know what's the biggest need for the Lakers at this trade deadline. Wow. If you had to pick a position, what do they need more than anything?
An athletic point guard.
Then that's DeJounte Murray. There you go.
Would be my answer to that.
Perfect world, I would say. I mean, somebody like that who can shoot 45% from three. I think it's a two-way player, just in some fashion. Somebody who they can trust to some level of competency on both sides of the court, who can slot in minutes and play alongside the starters who can play in second units. Just a guy you can trust on offense, a guy you can trust on defense. It's a pretty base level thing, harder than you'd think to find in the NBA, especially at the trade deadline. Everybody's sort of looking for that. That's what I would like. Obviously, I think in addition to like the big move, finding some sort of motion shooter. A name, I'm just throwing this out there. I've not heard this name mentioned at all. As the Memphis Grizzlies season falls totally apart with injuries, stuff like that, we've got Desmond Bain, John Morant, Marcus Smart. I mean, all these guys, boom, boom, boom. Luke Kennard, BT, guy we know from LA. Hasn't really made a difference on a title type team, but like motion shooter, those guys create their own issues on defense. That would be a guy if I was Rob Pelinka. I'd consider, maybe Luke Kennard gives you what you thought Malik Beasley would last year. Malik Beasley, by the way, shooting the ball for the Bucks. Another guy, BT, former Laker, shooting the rock, Lonnie Walker. Lakers could have used either of those guys this year. All right. Hey, we'll be right back. We got more Times Lakers show coming up right after this. Remember, subscribe, comment, buy a newspaper, stay away from BT's house in the Dina. He doesn't want you to come visit. We'll see you right after this. We are back on the Times Lakers show, BT. I see the finish line. Like our colleague Andrew Greif, who ran a marathon this past weekend. That's insanity.
Andrew, huh? Man, respect to Andrew.
Congratulations, Andrew Greif. 26.2 miles.
Ooh.
I don't like driving that far.
Good for him. But have you seen? Look at him and look at us. Okay.
He's in really good shape.
Look at him and look at you, because I'm the kid.
It is really. I think it is, honestly, BT. I think it's a little bit selfish on his part to do the marathon. I think it is something where, like, just because you work out, just because you are in shape, Andrew Greif, because you have a beautiful young family, like, you shouldn't be able to do this too. It is showy, and it makes the rest of us feel lousy.
No, speak for yourself. Respect, Andrew, respect. I'm not like
no, I feel terrible about myself. I'm a hater.
Hater. Come on, man.
All right, BT, let's bounce around the league a little bit here. Okay. We saw the Thunder last night.
Yes.
We're going to see Dallas coming up. I want to talk about the Thunder. This is a team that we have spoken about more than we probably should on this podcast. I don't think they're quite championship good, BT. In fact, if I had to pick today, if somehow it was a 2-7 series against the Lakers or 1-8, I think I'd like the Lakers based on what I've seen and kind of their sort of old man strength against Oklahoma City.
Yes.
But man, is there a team that has like the next 5 years in front of them better than that team? Like, is there a team in the NBA that you'd rather have a core of currently than the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Not at all. And they have draft picks.
All of them.
That draft capital to make some significant moves and changes, to shift things around, to become a championship team like they were when they had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, and Serge Ibaka. Let's not forget about him back in those days. They didn't win a championship. They did get to the finals and lost to LeBron James in the Miami Heat. But that is a team that is on the rise, and I don't think they're going anywhere. As long as they stay healthy, and Dan, as long as they can financially afford to pay their key players.
Well, look, Shea is in line, obviously, for big money. But Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, like those guys are on rookie deals, man. They've already paid Lou Dort. Josh Giddey is a guy that I think eventually will not be a part of what they're doing. Barely played last night. They just have guys, man. Isaiah Joe off the bench is a really good player. Yeah, man. They are they're a good team.
And then
two of the best wins of the Lakers season.
And they've got a couple of players from my country, France.
The Clippers. A team we've also seen recently. Another great win for the Lakers, but another team. To me, a team I'd be afraid to see in the playoffs right now.
Oh,
I would not want to play the Clippers.
Man, and as you know, as everyone knows, I am a Ty Lue fan.
Yep,
the dude can coach. He can coach. Hold on. Tyronn Lue is one of the top 5 best coaches in the entire association.
All right, name the other 4 if you're going to do this.
No, Greg Popovich.
That's 1.
That's 1. But Ty Lue is 2.
Okay, who else?
The head coach in Indiana,
Rick Carlisle, 3.
Red Carlisle. How about this? I also think the coach with the Oklahoma City Thunder is pretty damn good.
Dagnall, is that how we say it?
Yes,
Dejanol?
that is him. And oh well, come on, man, Eric Spoelstra.
You have to say Eric Spoelstra.
Yes,
The good news is that LeBron has only said nice things about one of those guys, 2 of those guys in the last 2 weeks. By the way, 40% on
yes.
that list.
There we go.
It's a good top 5. I think we could talk about Will Hardy as a
Yes,
guy who could be in that mix. Is a
it's true.
really, really good basketball coach. He didn't say Steve Kerr's name.
I
Steve
did
Kerr's won
not.
a bunch of those things, bunch of those that
I did
jewelry.
not. And Steve, I apologize because you're also an LA guy.
Yes, yes. I think. Look, and then I want to talk a little bit about Dallas because they are a team that BT is sort of in the Lakerverse. Because of Jason Kidd, because of Jared Dudley on that bench. Obviously, people that are very close to LeBron James, very close to Anthony Davis, title members all together in 2020. That's a weird game Wednesday night. Early start, 5:30. It's on ABC. BT, what do you make of this Mavericks team?
Well, Luka Doncic did not play in the prior game
Correct.
at New Orleans, and Kyrie Irving, showed out.
He's playing great.
Timmy Hardaway showed out. So we're not sure about Luka's status for the game tomorrow night. The Mavericks are a team that can score with anyone in the NBA. The Mavericks are looking to improve their defense. And that's been a conversation for as long as Luka has been.
Yeah.
Can their defense be good enough to put them in the championship equation?
It's a really good question. And I think this is a good place for us to end because this kind of ties a bow together on this. We started the show with me kind of saying the things I didn't like about the Laker win. I'm going to throw you something that's been thinking about a lot lately too. Like, can you even still win as a defensive-minded team in the NBA? Are the offenses just too good? Like, if you don't have a good to great offense, can you be competitive night to night? The Lakers are at such a math disadvantage every night when it comes to threes taken and threes made. This is another thing we talked about last night. We were talking about what happened in Dallas, and you look at Tim Hardaway Jr. 41 points in like a fill-in role. The Lakers, they got kind of that type of game from D'Lo in Utah, but they don't create enough opportunities for one of these guys to like combust and make 8, 9, 10 threes. They barely do it as a team, and I think that is another thing that limits this team and limits its ceiling. Is that who is the guy who gets it going and they get like kind of a surprise 35-point night from? I just don't think they create enough shots for the other players. Like they play so much through AD, so much through LeBron, as they should, right? Like those are Hall of Fame players, but a little more balance, I think, and a little more offensive mindedness. And you can get there through threes and free throws, but you got to put the rock in other guys' hands more. And I think Dallas does a good job at that. This isn't the first time Tim Hardaway's gone nuclear this year. He's done it with Luka, with Kyrie healthy, really explosive scorer. I think the Lakers missed that kind of play.
Fair point, Dan. Fair point.
Am I right again? Did we end with me being right a third time?
I didn't say you were right. I said fair point.
Should the Lakers trade for Zach LaVine, BT? Do it. No. Let's get it. Am I stupid?
I'm not saying that.
You said it last week.
I didn't say those words.
No, you did say, you're stupid. Direct quote.
Well,
I said, tell me I'm stupid, and you said, you're stupid.
Well, you told me to tell you were stupid, so I did.
Oh. I appreciate your listening skills. If only my kids, BT, were as obedient. They heard my voice and dealt with such respect. Subscribe to the paper. We joke about it. Seriously, it's a really good product. It's worth it. Comment, keep hitting us, emailing us. We appreciate you, BT. Any last words for the people this week?
A nice bottle of wine is good for January.
Then you can come by. You can come by the dinner if you bring a nice bottle of wine. Now, how about this? I have proof of this. You don't even have to bring that nice of a bottle.
That's very true.
Yep. All right. We'll see you next week.